Yet another edition of Monday Night Live on cricket.com. We have some breaking news, of course, coming in from England. Not Akshay Kumar Swamy, which we'll get to, but of course, everything leading up to that Edgbaston Birmingham test. But first and foremost, introductions as ever. And as you can see, the white and black doesn't disappoint you. We'll start with the white in Nikhil Popat, who's, of course, in India, like me, not, of course, on our sojourns and travels, but the boy deserves one. We'll come to Akshay. But Nix, how are you?
No, all good. I'm the only one who's been in India for a longer time than these two, so that is okay. We'll all have our turns in that way, but been good. Been a good test week. Looking forward to a very eventful next one. Edgbaston rarely serves a dull game, so hopefully it's a cracker.
Should be a cracker. Starts, of course, on Wednesday, 2nd of July. Today is the payday. Hope all you guys got your salaries. Hope you guys are plugged in after heavy days of work at Monday. And, of course, Chris Woke just spoke to the press media out there. But we have our very own Chris Wokes from cricket.com, who is in UK. Akshay Kumar Swamy, tell us more. Tell us everything in the first 5-6 days of the beautiful United Kingdom.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Like I was saying off air, the weather is beautiful. It's mid to late 20s, sometimes early 30s. So the weather is perfect, for people like me who love to just walk and aimlessly wander around the streets of any city. So it's been great that way. And then got to witness Smriti's first T20 turn, got to witness India come up with such a clinical performance, something I hadn't even dreamt of, something I was hoping that they would come up with. Got to meet these cricketers firsthand, so that was even better. So that was the icing on the cake. And yeah, I mean, it's been great so far. And the food, of course, like, maza to aa gaya bhai filhal.
Yeah, out of the 22 women who took part the other day, I think you interviewed one of them on Unwind, which is, of course, Danny. And to see Smriti's 100 must have been...
He's also there, Baba.
Oh, sorry, I stand corrected. Two indeed. So
Yeah.
tell me, it must be chalk and cheese going to Trent Bridge, Nottingham to watch a game as a fan compared to anywhere in India. I don't make that as a disparaging remark, but just as a fan POV, what was to like, what was to not like?
Oh, I mean, I will any day jump on that wagon and criticize the infrastructure that exists in India. And just again, I knew that I will have an amazing day out there, least of all because of the performance. It's just the fact that as an experience, even if India hadn't played well, the fact that it's so encouraging. First of all, I wasn't expecting a lot of Team India fans. I was pleasantly surprised to see more India jerseys than England jerseys to begin with. And then just the way the stadium, the way people are let in, you get to, of course, drink beer. That is a great plus. There's nothing that comes remotely close to having a glass of chilled beer and watching a game live. But yeah, man, and it was great fun. There was also banter going on. So me and my sisters, we were very, very unequivocally cheering for Team India, and the English fans beside us, they weren't amused. Then it led to a bit of banter, but harmless banter, of course. They also indulged us, we indulged them, so that was great fun that way. And once again, queues, be the way people were let in, the way we go to our seats. First of all, each seat, it's marked, so you know which specific seat you get to sit on, unlike, say, the Chinnaswamy, where it's just first come first serve basis. So you have to hope that you get decent seating. And then on top of that, the players themselves are a lot more approachable, accessible. So at the end of the game, they come, they interact with you, they talk. Hurley and Deol spent about 15 minutes chatting with just one group. They just kept talking to her about this, about that, and all. Smriti came, Herman came, Jemmy came. So all of these people, they come, they interact, especially with the kids. They talk to them. What did you like about the game? Did you like this shot? Did you like that? They give their autographs, they give their photographs. So all in all, a fun day out. And yeah, I mean, like I said, that way stadium experience outside India so far, I'm yet to have a bad experience. I've been lucky enough to watch cricket in 4 other countries, Sri Lanka, Dubai, Sri Lanka, UAE, Australia, England. Nowhere have I had a bad experience. That only happens in India, unfortunately. I hope that changes. And again, India also, my experience is very limited to Bangalore. So I don't want to simply paint every stadium with the same brush and say everywhere it's bad. I've heard good things about certain other stadiums. So fingers crossed, when I also get to go there, it'll be just as good.
No, indeed. I'll come back to you on that. Nix, if you had a bucket list of visiting cricket venues around the world, what would it be? Would it be the obvious, or do you have a hidden gem in there which will tickle our audience today?
I think all of us will have our preferences. I mean, I've been to lots, but not watched the game there. So that will always remain something, because for the traditions, I've seen at Colombo, SSG, that is good, but I want to see one match at Gaul. I know a few of CDC colleagues have been privileged to be able to see a test match there. That too an Australian one. So Anirudh and Akash have plenty to chatter about. But there are quite a few venues. I think bouldering in South Africa is in one of those top names to have. There is Wellington. There is साउथ अफ्रीका हो गया न्यूजीलैंड हो गया ऑस्ट्रेलिया तो है ही so at least these 4 5 तो I want to definitely see उसके अलावा तो the more the merrier and we should never stop.
No, absolutely. I think I echo all those names that you just mentioned. I would probably throw in the Barbados
Yeah, I
venue,
was
the
about to
Kensington
mention
Oval.
Caribbean maybe.
Just the fact that you can have a bloody beer in the pool while watching cricket from mid-wicket or cow corner. So Akshay, just come back to you. Obviously, all Indians watching this immediately thinking, yeah, Trent Mitch pick, how much are the tickets and all of that stuff. So just to paint us a picture, how much is your ticket? Is it differentiated for adults and kids? And how much are your expenses at a game? For example, beers and eateries.
So this is equivalent to the stands that I sat in. This was straight right next to the side screen, so the best possible view. That's usually what everyone wants to. I mean, that's usually where everyone wants to watch from. That's the best vantage point. So Chinnaswamy end stand for those in Bangalore to give you more context. The tickets for women's games started about £15. These tickets in particular costed 28. For men's games, the same tickets would cost about £39, which I still think is not too bad, given that these same tickets in Bangalore cost north of 7,000 during the IPL and north of 4,000 during India games, international fixtures. So this is cheaper than that, and a beer costs about 450, and you can refill the mug for £3. So yeah, that's the pricing there. So in all, including food, we got in a couple of crisps as well. No, chips as well, not crisps. Crisps is chips and chips is fries. So we got a couple of chips, and that was about £8 each. So all in all, yeah, for three of us, it came to about £40. £50 in all, man, including the
That's
tickets.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's honestly like £5,000 if you guys are trying to do the math. Because look, trust me, I know people who've spent £300 or 30,000 Indian rupees for IPL hospitality tickets, which is ridiculous. But look, enough of that chat. But go on.
Yeah, one last thing. The best part is we get to do this. We can buy a scorecard. So I took this. It's a fun activity. You can fill it individually. You can sort of score everyone and do all of the stuff. So and it's a great memento to have. So basically, I did the scoring, and front mein se baith ke you just have to keep doing this. It's fun. It's lots of fun, and to be able to do that in the stadium again, these are the kind of things you want to be able to do. The thing is, India में अगर करना भी चाहो ना, just because of the crowds and everything, I don't think it would be even possible. But a fun activity to do for sure, and I'm hoping to do more of these scorecards when I'm here.
I'll tell you what, for all those cricket geeks and nerds like three of us are, we would like to take those home more than the 4s and 6 placards or the
100%.
vuvuzelas or horns that you get. So, I mean, Nick, you would have tucked into one of that for sure.
I mean, Sri Lanka, it was a very different time. Again, did not get the scorecard, but so see, different priorities for different people. I am an absolute idiot when it comes to cricket. So every morning at the breakfast, I would be hiring others. Okay, let's go. I want to be there half an hour before the match starts. And people are like, it's okay if we made half an hour. But I don't want to miss the pre-match. Forget missing things after, because people talk to you have player interviews and everything happening at the venue. There is every chance you could just meet somebody. Eventually, I got to meet the entire India and Sri Lanka squad when I was there in Sri Lanka in 2015. But those opportunities are very rare. So, and again, it's also happened away from home. So it's not possible in India. And I can completely understand why it doesn't happen. But that's the point. If you get a chance to go away, because I have now, it will sound very flex, but I had a good 10-15 minute walk with Virat in Colombo. It will never happen in India. Only him, me, Akash Chopra, and other few guys knew what we were talking about on that just walk at the beach in Colombo. So again, these are things you cannot think it is possible in India. And there too, we had crowd around, but it wasn't, people were not mobbing. It is just 4 5 of us just walking, chilling. We are having a walk, they are having a walk, good conversation, chill. So some things have come out today in 10 years, but that's okay.
That's brilliant. That's honestly brilliant. I think many people will acknowledge that and take note and probably hold you hostage to that as well. But interesting that you guys mentioned that, because it's a freedom that you get from a fan, from a player, and from an expert point of view. And plus, things that what Akshay just showed us, scorecards, you can't really imagine it in a stadium like India, which is a melting pot. People are sweating the backsides off, so no one has that patience to do that. But look, who knows? But look, before we, of course, properly talk about things that we want to in this podcast, that was just basically to throw some light, because Akshay, if you guys have joined us late, is in the UK, was lucky enough to see that game in Trent Bridge. But final one, before I let it go, do you get those cool Sky Sports clips to listen to commentary as well from the ground that we see that players use?
That's only for test matches. It's not for all games. So yeah, I will be going for a couple of test matches as well, and I will definitely be using them. I'm in Bristol. Limited overs में white ball cricket में वो नहीं देते. I don't know if it's white ball cricket or women's cricket, but the staff there told me white ball, so I'm assuming it's white ball cricket itself.
Okay, right. With all the introduction pleasantries out of the way, let's tell you what's on the menu for this particular sumptuous Monday Night Live. And I'll tell you, for starters, we're going to be reacting to some breaking news coming out there. Presser's being done 2 days before that second test. Chris Wokes has come out with some pertinent quotes, and not to forget, even Ryan Tennis-Carter. But like Apex points out in the chat here, England announced they're playing 11 for the second test, and they're the same playing 11. So no Jofra Archer, even though he came back to the squad. We'll see how that story unfolds in a point of time. Hey guys, as Akshay traveled to the UK as part of the CDC, I mean, he's still with us, but he's not officially gone there. He's gone to just enjoy himself after a hectic last few months. Robin asking us how and we're all good. So quickly, all you guys just joining us right now, please subscribe, like, and of course share, because there's plenty of things to talk about. First of which, Edgbaston test preview, guys. Right, what we have in front of us. Nix, I'll get you taking first ball here. England playing 11. Surprised?
No, actually, I think I didn't see them rushing Jofra. There is no need to do that. They might look at the third or the fourth test and figure, okay, we have India 2-0 or 3-0. That's the time to maybe try and have a full, because we have to remember they care about the Ashes a lot more than they care about the series, and it is fair. They want to ensure that Jofra has given enough time to ease into test cricket, because it is a lot harder than what we think, because for somebody who's had so many injuries, it's very difficult to not feel that I want to do this. Sometimes you can be too eager and you don't want that also to happen. So I think they'll be very smart, and they'll ease him into it. No surprises. So from England's aspect, they were there and they won a game they were wanting to. So I think well done.
See, the way I see it initially, short-term, Akshay, is the fact that they don't want to change anything which is not broken, and they've gone 1-0 up. So they have the Archer card if they want to play it at Lords, if they want to play it maybe at Manchester where the conditions are more suitable to pace. And I think with Archer and Wood, their main target is the Ashes. I mean, even if they kind of get Atkinson back in and they have Tung and all these boys managing the workload for the next 4 or 5 tests in this India series, then I think they're fine. They want Archer and Wood to get a little bit of miles under their legs, probably play 2 tests, maybe 1 test here. I don't know how you see it, but what's your reaction for them to name an unchanged 11?
Expectedly so, in some sense. I get it that Archer must have been, he is one of those cricketers we all love to watch. So that must have been at the back of their heads. He would also lend a bit of experience, and importantly, that X factor that, they seem to be lacking. But first match jeet chuke hain, and like you guys said, they have that.
Is he gone? I have literally cursed the Firangi Wi-Fi. I said nothing's going to go wrong.
Okay, am I there? Am I gone?
He's back. He's back.
Okay, apologies for that. I don't know what just happened there. But yeah, with Archer, had they lost the first test, then in some sense, I think Archer would have definitely been a part of the second test. But having won that, I see no reason why they would want to change. Tung also bowled well in the second innings. Ryan Karch also in between got into a nice little groove there.
Stopping and starting here, Akshay Kumar Swami.
As much as
almost feels like rain in England, but he's back again.
He's back again.
क्या चल रहा है यार? हाँ. So yeah, long story short, what I was trying to say is कि they will try and push Archer and eventually even Wood's inclusion to as late as possible, simply because they don't want to, like you guys also said earlier, push them a bit too early in a bit to win a game over here. For them, Ashes is always the bigger draw, firstly. And secondly, even from the player's perspective, individually and personally, Archer also needs to be deemed completely fit. They've already risked bringing Archer too early and then burnt their hands. So I don't think they will go down that route once again. So on both fronts, it only makes sense to delay the inevitable.
There are a few things about this. I was just reading a couple of reports. One is, I think he wasn't participating in the training session today. There's some family emergency concerns for Jofra Archer. And then when you think about the last time he played Test cricket, it was probably 4 years ago. I know he played county and he bowled pretty well. I think 1 for 32 and 18 or whatever that scorecard told me. But I don't think they'd want to rush him in as yet. My gut feel would probably be Lords because, like someone said in the comments, he hasn't played a Test at Edgbaston. And I think the surface would probably see India play two spinners, which we'll come on to right now, because a lot of people are going ballistic in terms of NKR, Shardul, Kuldeep, Sundar, what's going to happen. So, Nick's coming back to you in this one. I mean, for India, we'll get to the inevitable about Bumrah and Kuldeep, but just on the offset, what do you think India are going to do? I mean, they're surely going to make changes, but how many and who are those people?
That's an open secret. I think nobody has any idea. Plenty of reports on at least two spinners being played because they feel it's very dry underneath and there is patchy grass, which means a spinner will come into play now. I I have a genuine fear that you cannot play both Jadeja and Sundar is what I feel. They can both score centuries, they can both take fifers, but I feel Kuldeep is a must given how the ease with which England scored 350 in a day. I think that should ring alarm bells. Uh, till a point of time, you did not even feel like England, that India had. The India bowled well, but you did not see too many chances being created. They bowled well, and I feel they were unlucky. They created a lot of false shots, but despite that, you did not see too many chances being created off spin as well. So I feel Kuldeep is a must. But then Kuldeep is a must. Shardul is not playing, most likely. So then, do you go NKR? Do you go Kuldeep? If you go Kuldeep, there is no Bumrah. Do you go to Arshdeep or do you go to Aga? It is completely open for interpretation that how do they want to go. I think they will not drop Siraj and Prasid. It might be too much, too many changes that way. So I expect two at least. Shardul not playing and Bumrah not playing. So possibly Kuldeep coming in and maybe Akashdeep coming in. But the bigger call is if they want to play two spinners, do they drop Jadeja? Because we saw Karun Nair be in the slip cordon when they are practicing. So Karan is not going anywhere. So does the sword hang on Jadeja? I have no clue.
It'll be interesting because I was doing some research and I was just trying to figure out the spin sort of winners, if you like to put it that way, at Edgbaston since 2015 in Test, right? So which spinner or which type of spinner has fared well? And Anirudh, shout out to you for giving me this data because he's basically named the bowlers who are really good on the surface. So for example, Nathan Lyon played about, 3 tests there, taking 20 wickets. Moeen Ali, 12 wickets. Ravichandran Ashwin, 7. Roston Chase, 4. Joe Root, 2. And there's Yashish Shah, the only wrist spinner, if you like, to be on that list. So I don't know if India go by that evidence and just chuck in Sundar over there because Tendulkar did mention him, Akshay, that Sundar is doing batting well. And I don't know if they'll take a gamble and play 3. Surely they won't, but they'll play 2. Who's your pick? Is it Kuldeep and Jadeja and Sundar misses out?
As the incumbent, I don't think Jadeja has done anything to merit or warrant an axe. I'll begin with that. So had they started off with Sundar ahead of Jadeja, then I would have stuck with Sundar once again. But has Sundar done anything to replace Jadeja? I don't know. At New Zealand series, sure, ghar pe acha kiya tha, and people talk, myself included, we've all spoken about the talent that Washi possesses, the technique that, yes, he's definitely someone who can be tried as a batter alone too. But abhi yaar, Jadeja bhi hai, and Jadeja, I'll once again stick my head out and say, jo bhi ho, he might be the worst batter probably in this 11 to play with tail. I'm completely with you on that. But even then, he scores you 20, 30, 40 runs consistently, come what may. And that comes after facing 80, 90 deliveries. And I look at that. I think that who will give you those runs irrespective. And between Washi's bowling and Jaddu's bowling, I don't see there being a lot of difference. Sure, I mean, if Gambhir and co have got it right, ki bhai surface sachmuch mein dry nikla, if there's actually patchy grass and there's a bit of purchase for the spinners, then it's a different story. But now that's just a guess at this point in time. We don't know because we've seen them get it wrong earlier. So if they get it wrong once again, then Washi could turn out to be a horrendous pick. So That's why Ramacho, I would personally still stick with Jadeja and Kuldeep at least for another test and see where it goes. And importantly, Jadeja को use करो भाई. पहली बात तो तुमने जडेजा को ठीक से यूज नहीं किया बॉल के साथ, and you're putting the blame on him कि भाई उसने अच्छा नहीं किया. So if you're going to use Washi the same way, then I don't see any difference in the kind of returns we can expect from him too. And if Washi is used more, then Jadeja will only feel hard done by कि भाई मेरे को भी तो वही मौका चाहिए था. So stick to Jaddu, give him a proper shot कि भाई तू बॉल कर, तू एक एंड से डाल, बिंदास डाल और देखने क्या होता है.
Yeah, I agree with you because I see it. If India plays Sundar and Jadeja, they don't have an attacking spinner, and that really worries me because both are defensive. Jadeja, I mean, I would, you know me and Jadeja, literally, right? I'd always build him up. But the first time in my life, I thought, day 5 rough. Surely you don't need someone in your ear to tell you just bowl slow, bowl slow. It's something that Nix was pulling his hair out as well when we did the review of the last test. And it just makes me think about whether Kuldeep comes in straight away. Now, this is the graphic that I was just reading out. Sorry, I'll just show that to you. And Nix, again, this is minimum 25 overs bowled at Edgbaston since 2015. All off spinners, as you can see over there. It just begs the question, does Kuldeep just walk back in because it's going to be yet another dry surface in Birmingham?
More than a dry surface, what we have to look at is with or without Bumrah, you need to have another option that England should be worried about. And if you have a bowler who's had good grip against them, where he's been able to beat them with both turn and dip, and again, you see that graphic, very odd correlation that Nathan Land does well when he gets top spin. Kuldeep is started to get top spin on his deliveries, which means he's getting deep, he's getting a bit more turn. So, if that is the line that I want to draw, dot that I want to connect, then Kuldeep is a good enough fit no matter when and how you bowl him, as long as you are using him as an aggressive option. So, without Bumrah, it becomes even more imperative that on a very good batting night, you'll have to beat people in the air. वो जडेजा नहीं करना, well, I don't know, नहीं करना चाहता, नहीं हो रहा है, whatever it is, they'll have to figure a way out because he can at least give you control. But you cannot have only people giving control. You'll need people to make the most of their control and create chances. So I think Kuldeep, to me, plays all 4 games now because you've seen how ineffective the rest of the bowling attack has been. So I would play Kuldeep every single game because we know they are not going to leave grass on the surface. So Lords 2018 nahi hoga. It will be a good surface where Kuldeep will come into the game. So I will play him. Forget about the batting. If you keep them to 250, you will not need those runs. So you'll have to take a call कि मेरे को वो end में 15-20 रन और चाहिए या I want 2-3 more wickets from a legit proper attacking spinner. So I would go the other way.
That's a huge call, I think, and that's something to note off. We'll definitely clip it out if it does come true with Nix. I think it'll always come true. 4 out of the next 4 tests for Kuldeep is definitely what his first point is, where he said, technically, without Bumrah, we just look so toothless. So we just need another attacking option. And I think Kuldeep comes straight into the equation over there. I'll just take a couple of comments. We'll get back to this chat. Lots more to talk about in terms of Bumrah and India and the ICC new rules and this best of the rest. So lock and load in wherever you are watching this Monday Night Live. Syed Nizamuddin, I wouldn't be surprised if Arshdeep plays or Arshdeep, one of the Deeps. But I generally think it's high time Arshdeep probably gets a look in. The left arm angle is just honestly something to take note of. Jaydeep saying KL, Jaiswal, Sai, Gill, Pant, Karan Jadeja, Kuldeep, Arshdeep, Krishna and Siraj. So he's testing Bumrah. A talking point which you want to show you again some numbers in terms of Bumrah's workload in about 4-5 minutes. Gambhir is so defensive saying DOF. Can't seem not selecting Kuldeep. Interesting. In England, management will only give pitches which are flat since we cannot take 20 wickets. Greg K saying things that Nick has just said. And Alan James saying, happy Monday, lads. New week brings new hope. Hopefully we see new plans and approach from India too. Optimistic Alan, good to see you as ever. And freaking awesome saying, whoever they pick, they should give them enough overs. Otherwise, no point in picking someone in the playing 11 and not giving them overs. It's a waste of a slot. Comes to think of Shardul Thakur straight away because, first of all, bowled 16 overs or something in the match. And he got brought in the first innings where I think the ball was literally half its age, 40 years, or 40 overs, I should say. Hi to Pavan Suresh. Hi to everyone joining us very late. And we will take all your comments. Remember, the 12th man section is there as well. Right, talking point number 2 in MNL, which is, of course, something playing on everyone's mind. is managing Bumrah's workload. Now, he, I think, came out and said that he'll play only 3. Then India were adamant that he will probably miss Edgbaston. But now, Akshay, all of a sudden, they're saying it's a very last-minute decision that they'll take in Bumrah. We know Lords in Manchester is probably going to be much more cooler, better to bowl, and Bumrah's already bowled 43 overs in the Test series. So how do you see it panning out? So your first thoughts on this?
See, Bumrah ke saath, I'm completely with the management in terms of managing his workload. It is very important that they do that. But there's Birmingham, the test that he needs to miss out. I'm just, again, if I look at it very practically from a schedule standpoint, it's first test, long gap, second and third test, long gap, fourth and fifth test. Now, when I look at it this way, Bumrah has had 10 days of rest. Where he might probably be better suited is कि भाई second test अभी खेल जा क्योंकि rest मिला है थोड़ा बहुत. I get it. He's 43 overs is not a joke. It takes a lot out of you. But that's where resting him for the third test would then probably a lot more practical solution, because that would then give him a good 2 weeks rest ahead of the fourth test. And for some reason, I really think Manchester is a venue he'll really enjoy. You know, thoda sa seam movement bhi wahan pe milne ke chances, and that's where Bumrah can be even more lethal compared to say a Lords. Or
so would you play him in Birmingham then?
So from a scheduled standpoint, if I'm just solely looking at it, yes, then I would have played him. But then now you add the layer of ki bhai surface kya? Is it actually a surface worth taking Bumrah to? If it's going to be a highway, one line of argument is ki bhai highway pe tum Bumrah ko khila ke you're only making him more prone to injuries. The other line of argument is highway pe Bumrah hi wicket nikal sakta aur koi hai hi nahi. So it's very difficult, which is why I mean, I can see both sides of the argument, and I generally have not been able to make my mind on where I'm at. But as things stand, just practically and putting all things together, I think India would probably be better off resting Bumrah right now, because closer, let's say fifth test, India head to the fifth test 2-2, and Bumrah's already played 3. They would consider strongly कि भाई Bumrah ये test खेल जा 2-2 पे ये series जीतना और important है. अगर वहां तक मतलब if you don't do that, if you play him in the first 3 or 4, I mean 3 out of the first 4 tests, and the scoreline is not in your favor something, then there's no point playing a dead rubber in the fifth test just to ensure that Bumrah plays 3 out of 5. That's where now is when, if he can make inroads and help India win the game and stretch, you know, the series till the end, that's where they can probably be better. I mean, they would be better placed to win the series. This is just me thinking out loud.
I have a slightly different view. I see it because India 1-0 down. It will be a road in all likelihood. Play Bumrah right now because he's got a little breather. And if India lose, so be it. We go 2-0 down. And where Lords in Manchester provide a little bit more of conduciveness to pacers, you'll allow a little, maybe an Arshdeep to come in. I don't know whether there'll be an intimidating baptism by fire by throwing Arshdeep in at Lords. But I still think Bumrah should play this because India is 1-0 down. And then if we go 2-0 down with or without him in the team, it'll just make you think whether India will be playing catch up. Next, how do you see it? Because there is something that I want to take, which is the comments, of course, but also this stat, okay? The most overs bowled at pacers in tests since 2024, and this is across the board. Bumrah's on top of the pops over here, 410.4 overs, and we compare him to the likes of Stark, Cummins, Siraj. Does this resonate well with you as an Indian fan / expert?
So I lost you in the last query. Not sure if I was audible, but
sorry. Basically, I'm saying, how do you reflect in such a graphic right now?
I think it's okay. I mean, there is nothing much that you can do about it. If you are your best and you're not blessed with having 2 to 3 gun pacers in your team, you will invariably be bowling a lot more. And 410 Australia has played a massive role, that entire BGT. So it's gone, it's gone. You can't control. Looking forward to the Edgbaston test, I would definitely play him. I feel if you're 2-0 down, there is no point. You will be under immense pressure. Bumrah will be under immense pressure to come in and just make impact. And the last test was the first time I ever saw Bumrah try too hard. And I never want him to be in that stage again, because he rarely looked like the one we know. There were so many poor balls which you rarely associate with Jasprit. So he was trying too hard, wanting to be very desperate. And if you don't play him now, and you lose 2-0 down, there is so much a longer hill to climb. But you think of the other side. If you win with him, if it is 1-1, you're going into the third test, you have a room, you have a margin to rest him at Lords, and then you have a break. Play him in Manchester, you then take a call accordingly. Because if you don't play him now, I feel India will have to bat for 600, 700. Without that, it will not happen. You'll have to give your bowlers 200 more runs as a cushion, which you may not need at Lords. Because Lords के साथ there are different variables. There is slope, there is overcast weather and whatnot. There is rain forecast in this game as well. So I would play Bumrah now. There has been enough rest, 10 days ka rest hai, and whoever, and which is why the other selections also matter. Whether it is a spinner, whether it's a pacer, you have to use. I can't believe it's the same word that I keep using 3 years on. It is usage. Everything in cricket is about usage of your best resources. I would play Bumrah now, rest him in the next one, no matter what happens.
See, this conversation also comes up purely because India's test team, and in particular their pace battery, is in a transition. 5 years ago, we would be comfortable with Shami still there, Umesh still there, probably bring Bhuvi in for the test or whatever it is, and we would look at things like that. Ishant Sharma was still there as well. So it makes you think about the other weaknesses, and hence Bumrah's inclusion gets heightened, and that's how I see it. Akshay, do you have any faith in the Pacers on the bench? I'm talking Akashdeep, I'm talking Arshdeep, I'm talking maybe a Kamboj, a wildcard entry at some point in time in the series. And should we kind of just give them a clean slate because they have nothing to lose?
See, Kamboj, I was really looking forward. I was hoping that he gets a go. But I think a lot has been made of it. Jitna humne, at least I'll stick to Twitter and what we've seen there, of course, because that's the one platform that we all often check. I think it's now he's become an enigma. Like people have thought he's like Brahmastra ki bhai wo aa gaya to 20 wicket wo akela nikalega. Great, he's a great bowler. No, make no mistake. But you cannot also put that burden of expectations on him straight up ki bhai tu ja tu seedha wicket nikal ke de. Not everyone can do that from the get go. So that's where I'm worried कि अगर कंबोज को गलती से भी मौका मिल गया ना, and if he unfortunately doesn't do as well as he's expected to, and trust me, the expectations are really high right now, then he might unfortunately fall prey to those unrealistic expectations that the fans might have off of him. With Akashdeep right now, man, we all are colored by his IPL, and it was a bad IPL to say the least. I still think he's a great bowler. He's one of those, again, who bowls in between lengths. He's a seam bowler. He's not someone who's necessarily known to move the ball in the air. And that's where I don't know, once again, Akashdeep, if he gets into that rhythm, great guy. He's one of those who can be metronomical and day in, day out, keep hitting those lengths again and again. But if he's not having one of those days, and not just IPL, we saw that in the BGT as well. There were a couple of spells where he went for a lot. So, and with England playing the way they are, and if Akashdeep gets caught, in the middle of a ducket whirlwind or something, it can go awry way too soon, and that's what fears me. And that's where I think India need an Arshdeep Singh, especially now. In case if Bumrah doesn't play, Arshdeep coming in makes even more sense because India in Siraj and Prasid don't have a new ball bowler per se. I don't consider either of them to be bowlers.
Forget new ball bowler. They don't have an incumbent second pacer, I feel.
वो तो है ही, but at least new ball के साथ एक specialist new ball bowler है ही नहीं. That's where Arshdeep can at least bring that dimension. I don't think Akashdeep himself is a new ball bowler. He's once again a first change bowler himself, if you have to look at it very technically and the kind of and what their strengths are basically. So that's where personally I wouldn't go with Akashdeep, but something tells me that if Shardul also gets dropped and Kuldeep also comes in place of Bumrah, assuming Bumrah and Shardul both go out, Akashdeep might play also because of that teeny bit of batting value that he can add. So that will play a role there. And abhi jo hai so hai bhai abhi.
Another MRF bat merchant is Akashdeep. Couple of guys agreeing with Nick's in the comments. Some with VK was the one who said, agree, Nikhil bhai, but you won't win if you fear losing. Let them do what they want. Even if you lose, it won't be the worst to lose 3-0 at home. Personally, I want Bumrah to play the second and fourth. He goes on to say, Nick's having an absolute laugh.
The 3-0 varieties. We'll do a separate baithak on 3-0.
Exactly. And Doff acknowledging Nick's point as well, saying spot on Nick's. If we lose in Manchester, Bumrah can skip the Oval. Meanwhile, Tanbir FC has joined the chat. Tanbir 53, I should say. We will talk about Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, bro. I know you are a Bangladesh cricket fan, so don't worry. And freaking awesome. Also saying Siraj doesn't strike early is the problem. He bowls like a third or fourth pacer. In the last 1 year, Siraj picked 22 wickets in 6 away tests. Not bad to bowling like an experienced bowler. I mean, the thing is, it's what Somesh pointed out in his post-match analysis. 6 overs with a new ball in the first test and none for 50. And that's probably, I mean, on a given day, some bowlers in the IPL have better figures with a new ball. Not to
I'll ask
pitch
you one
last
question
game.
to both of you. Do you
Yeah.
know the last time Siraj took a new ball wicket?
I
Which
was
test
actually
was it?
thinking that. I would say South Africa, maybe.
इतना पीछे जाएगा तो सिराज क्यों खेल रहा है भाई?
New Zealand, I'm hoping.
नहीं.
Don't tell me it was 2020 Australia.
नहीं भाई, Perth rest.
Okay.
Close.
Oh, yeah,
That's how far back you have to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's played 5 tests.
And that was basically the first test of the BGT.
Yeah.
But new ball, 6 tests. It's bizarre.
Surely something to worry about. Sudarshan Sandhu saying good bowlers in flat pitches, asking us a question there. I mean, essentially that was the debate that we were having. Even if we have Bumrah, he will be the guy to unlock the defenses of the English. And Kuldeep's an excellent option there. Jadeja, if he really gets his tail up with the pitch doing things and the sun baking down in Birmingham, then I think all three of them would be a handful. And of course, the unknown element of Arshdeep Singh. But who knows? People are saying Akashdeep might have a nod, so on and so forth. Right, let's move on because, of course, we spent quite a bit of time debating this. But final thoughts on just this test match, guys. What are you hoping for? What do you think will happen? Predictions, please. And I would like for you guys to predict 3 things. A man of the match, who's batting first, and who's going to score the first 100 of this test match, if there's going to be 100. Nix, you first. Nostradamus Nix.
Given India's luck, England may win the toss and opt to bowl because they like to chase, which means India are batting first. I would love if an opener scores a ton, but yeah, that is not. This year has been of madness, no? So let Sai Sudarshan score the first 100 of this test.
Yeah.
If it's there with Akshay, तो ठीक है, I'll give that to Akshay. Who else do we have? ठीक है ना, मेरा इतना तो हो गया. Till then, let him answer. I'll hold one back for the player of the match. Let Akshay answer that one.
Okay, so he's taking your Sai away, but do you have a second contention there, Akshay?
Second तो पता नहीं यार, because again surface genuinely वैसा flat वाला होने वाला है. Sai in the second innings especially, he gave a good account of himself. That dismissal was once again not one of those where he was found out or something. It was just a soft dismissal. I'm hoping that he kicks on to have a big score. So Sai's, I'll still say Sai. I can't think of too many. Matlab, there are Yashasvi Jaiswal, Rahul, all are equally good contenders. It's also something we're hoping for. We want to see Sai also be amongst the runs because Baki sir ne already dikha diya ki boss they are in form. So I'll go with Sai. In case if Sai is taken, then I'll go with Karun once again. More from a fan standpoint ki we need more batters coming in. And bhai Karun kuch to acha kar le mere bhai. Then with player of the match, see, if Kuldeep plays, I'll go with Kuldeep because I don't see any other decent enough bowling option for India. Once again, this is with the assumption in my head that India will win. So, मैं उसके साथ like India अगर जीतेगा, then what are the possible scenarios that results in an India victory? So I'm just going that way. So I'll go with Kuldeep as my player of the match. I'll go with Sai Sudarshan or Karun Nair as the centurion. And for a change, India will be lucky. Shubman Gill will win the toss, will opt to bowl first. So thoda they'll get to, use a bit of whatever juice might hopefully be available up top. So yeah.
I agree with that last point. I have a hunch that Shubman Gill's going to get lady luck this particular test match. There won't be a lady in the stands by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he will have the first 100 of this test. Even though England will bat first, I feel. They'll all get 50, 60, 70s, but they'll come close but no cigar. India will bat and then probably outbat England in the first innings. And I see maybe Shubman Gill to pick up the man of the match as well. I feel like he will have something to say because he'd be like, I'm going to take this game, grab the bull by its horns. Next, your man of the match prediction is still waiting. Are you going bowler, batter, England, India? Whom?
Root or Kuldeep, whoever,
Simple.
as per the toss. Because if India are defending a score, Edgbaston last day, so then I think Kuldeep could be very handy. But if England are chasing, so फिर root root, it's very rare to not have a root special already into the second match of a series. Though random, एकदम random fact. Siraj's best performance always come in the second match of a series. Watch out. खत्म, बस इतना, इससे ज्यादा नहीं बोल. He was. It is amazing. My highest catch per hitter for the series was Jaiswal. He's dropped more than he's taken already. My most wickets for the series is Siraj. So Siraj, Mia, एक बढ़िया sixer, please. Thank you.
If that happens, Nix, I'll tell you what, we'll all kind of run to your Twitter and just like do that. Bow down to the great man. Sports fans saying root first 100 and player of the match as well. And look, I agree a little bit with Nix because Ben Stokes has that luck. They might as well win the toss and just chase again. I think history tells us the last 4 tests in Edgbaston, all chasing. And the last time India played England, remember at Edgbaston, it was that absolutely scintillating partnership between Bairstow, I think, and Root, which just took India home, even though the target was 370 odds. So lots to look forward to on Wednesday. We will be, of course, doing a lot of coverage, written and, of course, video work. So catch us on cricket.com regards to that. Right, we'll move on to the best of the rest. But before that, this stays in the main chat because the ICC, of course, absolutely doing themselves a world of good, at least since Jay Shah has taken over. And I don't say that as a fellow Indian. I'm saying that because he's trying to do as many things to improve the game of cricket. And let's just share our screen right now because I think our producer ran out of time. Polled him and the graphics boy. But we will share the ICC website and just go through the rules by each of them and then get Nix and Akshay to figure out what will work essentially in international cricket. I think every rule right now that we'll probably see is going to be already taking part in all the games that we're witnessing. So several changes, as you can see, this press mandate being put up at the ICC and lots of interesting calls. So the first one, Akshay, stop clock. We've seen it in white ball cricket. Can it work in red ball cricket, mate?
Hopefully, and I think it'll be a lot more effective in red ball cricket because with white ball cricket, first of all, there's a lot of broadcasters, sponsorships, brands, and all of those commitments that these people need to adhere to, which is why invariably they will be a bit more lenient with such things because they need to ensure that the big names, the captains, none of them get banned or something frequently. Here, I don't think that will be an issue per se. So I'm hoping that first of all, from that front, I mean, on that front, umpires will be a lot more stringent with how they monitor this. And secondly, it is important ki bhai, matlab, you can't simply keep taking your time. We've seen in the first test itself, like if memory serves me right, the way Duckett and Crawley just took their own sweet time, and you could see Siraj also lose it. And I don't just say it's an England thing. We all, like every team has done it. It is important ki karo, mat karo, wo bhi nahi bole, but there has to be a line drawn somewhere. And I think rules like these will definitely go a long way in ensuring that, at least overs are being begun quickly and you can move on with the game as soon as possible. So happy change, and yeah, fingers crossed it'll be implemented properly too.
Before we get on to the next rule with Nix, I just want to ask Akshay about that little caveat in that first rule. So Chonak just go up because it tells us the failure to do so for the third time in an innings following the 2 warnings from the umpires will result in a 5-run penalty. Now, we've seen 5 runs before in cricket, more famously hitting the helmet, overthrows. Back in the day, I remember people used to run with the ground size of the MCG. Do you think this will become the most common 5-run then, Akshay? And how frequent do you think these 5-run penalties will be there? Because overrates are a problem, especially in the country like England.
No, that I think once, maybe first couple of months or first few months, we might see a few instances of this happening, but then teams will also quickly get wary about it. They'll also learn to be quicker. I don't think they'll be like, हाँ ठीक है 5 run दे देंगे, but we'll play according to our own pace. So they'll also get used to this. You just need to give them some time to adapt to it. So maybe it might take some time to transition to the stop clock and getting used to just, getting done with the overs and whatnot. But I don't think we'll see too many instances also. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि, every other game will see such penalties being levied upon teams.
I just think with the stop clock coming in, they have the Megatron in every stadium right now, and it'll definitely be everyone be like, chop, chop, listen, 50 seconds, 40 seconds, the clock is, because the captains are anyway shitting themselves in terms of over rates, match fines, and all of that. So it's a good introduction. Let's move on to the second rule. Then, Nix, I'll come to you on this. Number of balls per ODI innings. Now, this fascinates me because it's something that we've heard so many critics and players talk about in terms of why the sheen of ODI cricket is lost. Because if you take away that old ball, it takes off spinners out of the game, takes spin out of the game, reverse swing out of the game. But now, number of balls per ODI innings, 2 new balls is what we understand. How do you kind of perceive that rule?
No, very good change, very welcome change. We might see the return of the part timers. So to begin with, because it was a point that we kept saying, if I reverse swing hai, dryer ball, again, it will be very. See, that's why cricket is crazy. This will affect different countries in different ways. Where if it is subcontinent, you will have a different type of strategy where you might want to hold back on a pacer or a spinner, especially for the last 16 overs, because you will know he'll be bowling with an older ball. Sometimes it might be completely different. So, very happy with this. I just hope the white ball survives that time. Because eventually, if you feel, it will be 17 plus 16, 33 overs. इतना आई जस्ट होप कि बाय द 46th or 47th ओवर ऐसा नहीं हो जाए कि भाई एकदम ही डिस्कलर्ड हो गया, because we've seen that issue in the past with Kukupura, that it does tend to just lose color after a while, which is why the rules were brought it in the first place. So let's hope that happens, because जो 350 norm बन रहा था, it has to come down to 300, and we have to start enjoying watching 250 to 310, 320 chases, because this will then ensure that there is a lot more interesting aspect to the game, and I can't wait for the pre and post metric to come out. Okay, wickets lost till 34 overs previously and wickets lost after 34 overs in innings. It will be mad.
That's exactly what I was going to allude to. The sweet 16 of every ODI, which is the final 16 of each innings, will definitely be measured. And Nix hits the nail on the head right there. Akshay, this is something that you practice and probably will go to right now. Boundary catches. Now, how do you, even if you read that information there, I'm still confused. Can you explain it to me in layman terms? How the hell is it going to work?
Sure. Firstly, this rule was much needed. Better late than never. Simply put, the fielder's last point of contact should be within the playing field before you touch the ball. At no point in time can you be beyond the boundary line, or touch the ground beyond the boundary line and then touch the ball. If you touch it, then immediately it's a 6. Simply put, that's how the rule works. So basically, let's say I've taken a catch, I'm losing my balance, so I've gone past the boundary line, so I've thrown it up in the air. Now I've gone past the boundary line, I'm still there, but I have to come back now. I have to come back to the playing field before making contact with the ball. I cannot even be in the air. So bunny hopping is basically you're still outside the boundary line. Wahin pe you go up in the air, you catch, and then you just keep hopping. You can keep doing it infinite number of times. Earlier, that was the case, wherein even beyond the boundary line, you could just keep doing it till you could finally manage to bring it over into the playing area. Now that won't be the case. You have to come to the playing area yourself before you have contact with the ball. If you don't, then it's a 6. You remember the BBL incident a couple of years ago, right? I'm forgetting. Michael Nesa was the fielder, if I'm not wrong. That will now be a 6. It was given out then. That will now be a 6.
So just to understand, 366 days ago, what Suryakumar Yadav did in Barbados, that still is legal.
Yeah, that's still out. Yeah.
Okay, fair. And Chandan Ramya quickly saying boundary line change is very welcome. Remember, guys, if you guys are just watching us, key in all your questions. We will, of course, take them at the end of the show, but we're just going through the new ICC rules, as you can see. Now, deliberate short runs is another thing which is on their list. And as it says there, adding to the present 5-run penalty, the fielding team will also choose which of the 2 batters take strike for the next delivery. Now, Nix, there's going to be a lot of hullabaloo on this one.
And fair also. I think too often the batting side, not the batting side, the batter, I feel have too much in their favor any which ways. So this will be good, because if you're deliberately running short, so that the right guy is on strike, then the fielding team will always say, no, we do not want that guy on strike. Let this guy be on strike. So fair. And the penalty is also good because see, any which ways, is सुन के मजा आ रहा है, but it doesn't happen too often. So whenever it happens, there will be a lot more fun to it. That's all.
Okay. There is also another change over there. As you can see, the DRS wicket zone. The wicket zone will be now the actual outline of the stumps and the bail. So that's just more technology and conciseness of it. Let's move on to the next couple of ones because those are real nitty-gritties that we'd like to show you. Concussion protocols. Now, as it says, there are two particular changes to these concussion protocols. Now, it is, of course, something to take note of. The second point there, if someone gets concussed, 7 days they need to take a break before they return to play, because that is just now it. So it gives people not to break the loophole of, you know what, let's just put him out of this test, even though no test team does that. But ICC just wants to make sure that that sanity is clean. And the fact that essentially they're asking teams now to nominate their designated concussion replacement. Now, was it Javagal Srinath who was a match referee who deemed it to be a like for like with Shardul and Shivam Dubey? I'm getting the personnel wrong, but it caused a real uproar. Who were those two cricketers?
It was David Boone, Ravindra
See,
Jadeja, Yuzvendra Chahal. If I'm not wrong, if I'm assuming
That was the previous
this is
instance. And
the
then there was
first one.
one more.
okay.
This is a Harshit Rana. Yeah, Harshit Rana for Shivam Dubey.
And Shivam Dubey. So that can clearly not happen. But if I understand this rule, Akshay, do they mean that they have to make sure a designated concussion replacement for each player? So 11, or how does it work then?
No, it's a set basically.
Each category.
One
Each
keeper.
category.
Yeah, like that you have they've already defined that set की क्या-क्या category है उन सब से एक-एक करके 5 player होंगे, and yeah, and then like for like based on whoever it is.
So the
that,
categories will obviously differ in terms of spin bowling, all rounder, spin batting, all rounder, fast batting, all rounder, whatever, right?
So all-rounder, matlab now one innings would have already been done, right? So earlier, like which is why Ravindra Jadeja and Yuzvendra Chahal were considered like for like, because when it comes to bowling, both are bowlers who turn the ball away from the right-hander. Vesa, like that's the logic they'll apply. I don't think they look at a spin bowling all-rounder has to be replaced by a spin bowling all-rounder. They look at who's coming in. Like in a batting innings, Jadeja and Chahal aren't like for like. Jadeja is probably like for like with maybe Dubey, like for instance. So that's how they look at it. I don't think all-rounder will be looked at that way, but I have to I don't think that's mentioned in the rules as well. Like again, it's still open to interpretation, so that's where you would expect the third umpires to be a lot more cautious while exercising their jurisdiction.
Okay. Apex asking us about the DRS. We'll take that in the 12th match for sure, and I'll give you an explained answer to that. But we'll just move on because in the interest of time. A few more ones which we'll just whiz through. Replacement players. Now, for example, a player just goes through a horrendous injury during the game. Now, it will be, of course, made sure that after the match started, maybe replaced for the remainder of the match. So that's something to, of course, note as well. And then the wide ball trial. This is an experiment that they've been wanting for a while, part of the MCC, and now I think it's going to come to fruition. It goes on to say, in an effort to provide leniency for a bowler who sees the batter moving around prior to the delivery, a new wide ball rule will be trialed. Now, this would excite Akshay Kumar Swamy, who I've done multiple watch-alongs with, because you've lost your mind at times and be like, how is this given a wide? So right now, as part of the changes, the position of the batter's legs at the point of delivery will be now used as a reference point for the wide. So you agree with that?
Yeah, the rule is fair. What wasn't fair was when, like, this is basically what happened with Ashwin in the TNPA. Like, वो पता नहीं था ना, अभी अचानक से तुम enforce कर दोगे बिना ठीक से बताए. So that's what was considered to be unfair. I think it's a fair point, and you need to give bowlers some margin for error. Yeah, like if a batter is going to move left, right, and center, I understand the on-field umpire not like. At the end of the day, he's human. Even he has a reaction time. He or she has a reaction time of 0.001 seconds. So they cannot keep checking, boss, has the line moved? How much has it moved by and all? So it's a very fair call, and it has to be there. It gives bowlers a bit more leeway, and I think it'll also bring in a layer of tactic wherein now bowlers will start recognizing batters who tend to move a lot, and we might see a lot more of these leg side-ish deliveries, straighter deliveries. Earlier, bowlers used to completely stay away from this because halka sabhi, if you stray down the leg, we've always spoken about how these are bad deliveries irrespective of the field setting. But now if you see a batter shuffling too much outside the off stump, you have that option. Ki boss, because the leg wo line ke andar dalna, I don't have to bowl at the stumps. So I think this is a very good call. And T20s might it'll make for some entertaining viewing.
No, indeed, it just makes me think of, I think, one ridiculous knock from Steve Smith, was it, who was just batting way outside off stump, I think, against Pakistani bowler. And the guy kept going that way, I think, to Bahab Riaz.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
So 2014
in
World Cup.
that kind of case, when Smith, he's not like premeditating, he's just standing way outside off stump. So then the line goes with him, I'm guessing.
See, basically at the point of release, lines are drawn at the point of release. So if Smith has already moved there, then the leg stump becomes the line. Once the issue starts when batters start moving after the ball is released. That's where bowlers are like, bhai, kya fayda hua? So yeah.
Okay, let's move on and see what else is in store for this one, because it just goes on to say, look, all the particular rules will basically be commencing from this WTC cycle, and of course all the other things going forward. So that was basically just to showcase what the ICC have been up to in the last 4 or 5 days. Saurav Ganguly was part of that committee. Jai Shah, of course, was there to execute all the particular rules that we mentioned. We'll come back to some of the nitty-gritties in the 12th man, but we'll move on to best of the rest, because literally it's test match fever, as the title of this podcast suggests, and we can tuck into some of the good test matches that we've been watching in the past week. Best of the Right, I mean, so much test cricket, and I don't know where to start, but we'll start with maybe a sour taste in our mouth if we're Caribbean West Indies cricket fans. Contentious calls, howlers maybe from certain umpires. Even though the technology came to their benefit, it didn't really work, because West Indies were left with not just egg in their face, but WTC points dropped, Australia doing the same things, winning a test within 3-4 days. And it came down to that headline, the fact that essentially some umpires out there were just having a laugh. In Nitin Men's case, it was true. Next, let's start with you, because I think you were the most vociferous in the WhatsApp group this week, saying how, not now, all of those things. You take first ball here.
It is amazing that in 2025 also there is a need to ask for a specialist third umpire, because it is a must. I think it's about time cricket gets to that stage where you cannot be inconsistent at watching the same thing. Now, if you saw that test match, there is no way Travis Head was not out, because he felt the ball bounce in front of him. But the same thing you say when the other side is batting and you clearly see कि भाई that is out, पर वो तुमको not out लगता है, तो you cannot be that inconsistent. You have to see the same thing and then clearly say, okay, I can see it bounce. I can understand if it is marginal, there are no cameras, but I mean, I can't even explain to it how exaggerating it was. He's saying there is no conclusive evidence to give it out, but there is no conclusive evidence to give it not out. So usko out do bhai. But the same thing when it happened reverse, when Carey took the catch, and it clearly felt he is the grass. The ball is touching the grass, but it was still given out because he felt कि वो एक motion में उठा है भाई ये this doesn't work. Even if that is contentious, Roston Chase, यार एक तो मेरा favorite. Or he was playing well in a precarious position. You give that man LBW when he hit that as clear as a day can be. So I don't know why. I think it is about time. See, the sad thing is it has to happen to a big team. It is how unfortunate this all is. Till the time it doesn't cost a very big team who will make a hue and cry about this will not change. And I'm sorry to put it as bluntly as it gets. One of those big three, Australia के benefit में गया. ये इंग्लैंड के साथ हुआ होता, इंडिया के साथ हुआ होता ना, पता चलता कि and my problem is not even there. My problem is if Darren Sammy can come out and talk about it. Why is he fined but the umpire not told anything? I just feel we are too protective as a system of the umpires. I understand it is a human, it is a tough job. To then get better people or have some accountability, because test matches are being changed because you can't get a decision right. And it is not even on field. You are a third umpire. You have TV. You have replaced with the help of technology. Uske baad bhi if you do wrong. And still, players, how do you talk about the umpire? I just feel it's very unjust on everybody else reacting to it than the person who's accountable for that actual decision.
The culprit here the culprit here is Adrian Holstock, who was third umpire duty in that first test. And Darren Sammy absolutely flipped it, and it was evident that he got his demerit points. And the coach of the West Indies, Dan Sammy, in fact, went on to say that his team essentially haven't either batted long or batted fast enough. And it's a similar, same old story template in Test cricket for West Indies. Akshay, I don't know how much of the action you caught, but just to sum it up, Hazelwood, Pfeiffer, Inglis, and of course, Constance not getting runs and poor catching, which we saw, of course, in the first test of England and India. But the catching was absolutely woeful in this, even though Shamar and Jaden Seals covered paper over cracks.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch a lot of it live, but yeah, these were a few points that a lot of people I know also had to say. One was, of course, the umpiring, the other was fielding. It just seemed, yeah, like, especially for West Indies, given that all you can do is control the controllables, and unfortunately, umpiring howlers aren't in their hands. You at least have to ensure that whatever are in your hands or whatever's in your hands, you take care of it. With Australia, it was expected that they will win. I was low-key hoping after the second innings that what the lead was 5 or 6 runs something. I heard Nikhil bhai only bringing that up, and I WhatsApp group पे तब मेरे को लगा कि यार अगर first innings lead, however slender it is, if they've come to a position of parity at the end of the second innings of the test, who knows? I mean, we've seen funnier things happen, and the last time these two teams played a test, we'd seen a fantastic performance by a certain Shamar Joseph. So वो था. But man, the umpiring, and I saw the clips. It's just, matlab, how can an ICC certified umpire who is, I can't. I'm trying to be polite. Gali nikal raha tha. Chodo bhai. Kuch hai nahi. It was very bad. Like, it's one thing, sure, howlers, people get it wrong. We get that. We are also human. They are also human. We get it.
And I would be the first one to say I would have got that wrong, because it looked absolutely plumb if you actually saw it on full-time replay. And for him to get a little snicko and for him not to see it, look, we don't want to cry over spoiled milk and sour milk over there. But just to ask you another question about West Indies, Australia, and I'll come to Nick's as well. The whole chat about Labuschagne Smith, of course, maybe coming back for that Grenada test. How do you kind of see it with Constance and Inglis? Do they get a long rope? Because this is a conversation we had when I was in Japan doing the MNL over there. Now that there's both the innings, both failures, do they, knowing Australia, give a long rope to these boys, or they're just like, it's a musical chairs this?
With Constance, though, I see no reason but to do that. I don't think Labuschagne will come in so soon because they want to give Labuschagne a break. That was the whole point of this. So I don't see him coming back. Smith ka bhi, matlab, Smith, I'm guessing, was rested. West Indies series, so good time to try out new names. So between the two, if there's a possibility of someone coming in and playing the second test, it would be Smith. Labuschagne, I don't know. Like, it would make no sense for Andrew McDonald to say कि भाई Labuschagne को हम लोग थोड़ा rest करें, let him go back to domestic cricket and get his act together, and then he'll come back. He's a fantastic player. Only for him to go back on it 2 weeks later and bring him back. I don't think that's very characteristic of Australia. They usually, stick to what they've come up with in terms of their statements or whatever it is. So I'm assuming Sam Constance will be given a longer rope. He's also fairly young. I did see that first dismissal, that LBW first innings wala bhai, matlab ball to gazab tha, and you expected him to play better probably, but 3 or 14, that's why I'm guessing he was also too caught up in his own head in terms of how he wanted to play. If he sticks to playing his natural game, which is just be aggressive, जैसे बुमराह को पहले बॉल पे स्कूप करने की कोशिश की थी, if he sticks to something like that, it might probably work out for him a lot better.
Those are the newbies. Nick, what about the old boys, at least Khwaja and Green, who had shockers of WTC finals? But what about them and their rope? And do you think these last 2 tests in the Caribbean is almost a saving grace, at least for Green in that position, and then Khwaja for his career, ultimately? Career.
I mean, everybody benefited in that fielding practice drill that was there in the first test. Khwaja was dropped. Constance was dropped twice in 1 over by West Indies. So, looking at Constance returns, even more pressure and longer rope for Usman. Okay, you be there, because we cannot afford both ends to have new batters and then we see how these two guys bat together. Because there were so many times during that short stay for Constance as well, where Usman was going up and talking to Sam K, get yourself in line, whatever they wanted to talk about. And he was trying to just guide him through that phase. But eventually it did not pan out in the best manner, but I don't see Usman going anywhere, at least ye pura series. And then if he continues to get good balls or he gets out very, very early, then is when they'll take a call. English might just get off for Smith because if Smith is ready, then there is no other place. Green, I feel it's very, very important for Green to get runs because whatever little chances Webster has got, he scored runs and he scored impactful runs. He's also taken wickets. Now Green is not bowling. So as much as the hype that you want to give to Green, he will have runs. He'll have to score runs to back that hype up. So I think the next two tests are very big for Cam Green to get some runs.
Let's see how that goes because the second test, I think, comes pretty fast. When is it? The next one? I'm just trying to look at
The third of July.
3rd of July. So again, this test, it'll be something to play for more from West Indies perspective. And I'm hoping some of their batters really turn up here because John Campbell, I was really excited about him the last time we did this preview and he's not giving me any conviction. So I'm hoping someone really chips in because Australia and West Indies, both, it was a first inning shootout. And I feel if Australia just teetered off, then West Indies could have come back into that game. Crick Nerd saying Australia need to give chances to young pacers soon because I can't see how these three play after the Ashes this year, need to transition from Hazelwood and Stark smoothly. I mean, again, though, props to them. How many times have we seen a test match sheet mentioning those four? The Holy Trinity in Cummins, Hazelwood, and Stark, and then Lyon, who just turns up. He didn't have anything to do this time around, but he still got, I think, a crucial wicket at the tail in the end when Jaden Seals was going ballistic. I say that in the littlest of senses. Marnus will definitely play Ashes by icing apex. I know Australia's mindset. And an Australia fan in Santosh Shodappa joins chat. Good to see you. Saying expected a better innings from Ross and Chase. I mean, to be fair, Hope and Chase did somehow resurrect the innings for a bit. But again, captaincy debut for Ross and Chase, and it didn't work out well for him. Let's move on then from the Caribbean to the subcontinent, where we will talk about pretty much Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, because many people thought that Sri Lanka were going to bottle this series, but they've come out trumps in terms of winning the series 1-0, and thanks to their win in Colombo. Makes a quick assessment from you here. Let's all get into the nitty-gritties, but what was to like in this DDS captaincy masterclass, as people are calling it in the Emerald Island, in particular Russell Arnold?
And it was very good. I think it was very good that Prabhat Jesuri also got back among wickets, because he wasn't getting enough wickets against Bangladesh, only 5. And then he took 5 in the last innings, which was again very, very important for Sri Lanka. You get a drawn test at goal is unheard of. So for them to then bat well and Pathum Nisanga, I just hope he continues to grow because we've seen him bat earlier as well and he feels a very fine prospect. Hopefully he can continue to build on this. So of quite a few boxes ticked, and most importantly, they've discovered more people chipping in terms of DDS himself bowled at crucial times and he got wickets. He got Mominul out, he got Shanto out. So I think shaping up to be a very good team, and that's how you want Sri Lanka to be. They're always with that spark of getting good contributions from everyone. Even Asida Fernando is bowling well with the new ball. So they got good new ball wickets as well. So Vishwa Fernando did well when he played. So starting to look like a very good bunch of players who are very hungry to perform. Hopefully they'll continue to do that in the upcoming games.
The few things that you guys have to take note of, whether you're a world cricket watcher, is that Sri Lanka's WTC cycle this time all consists of 2-match test series. So that's something that happened in South Africa when they won the WTC this year. And whether that goes on to, of course, work in their favor, the captain seems quite confident because he's literally compared the WTC to a World Cup. They're trying to eradicate the mistakes that they made the last cycle. And Sanath Jayasuriya, by the way, I called the man today. I called Jayasuriya for an unwind because it was his birthday. He picked up and he's like, yeah, thank you. Speak to my manager and then we can get this done. So I was like, cool, Sanath Jayasuriya, forget that, man, bro. I've got Dravid, Lara, Jayasuriya, and I'll complete the thing with AB. It would be all my legends. Honestly, it'll be great. But let's not deviate. Freaking awesome saying Bangladesh never won an ODI against Sri Lanka at Colombo. They played 10 ODIs. They lost all 10. In fact, let's quickly just look ahead to that if it makes any sense in the ODI scheme of things. Next, they're playing their first ODI 2nd of July. So similar time when India are going to be playing England in Birmingham. what is to look forward in this ODI series? If there's anything, small subplots, larger scheme of things, anything that you can probably point out?
Well, change of captaincy. That is something we'll have to see how the new lad goes. And there is, of course, by Maya bias to रहेगा तो अभी Dezoy के लिए. I want to see how he goes in the ODIs. There is Rishad Hussain as well, who is someone who's continued to do well. There is Tanzim Asam Sakib. So I always feel Bangladesh ka ODI squad always has a lot to offer, but I don't know how much of the batting will hold up. So plenty of pressure on Das, Naeem, Shantos to get those big runs. Now, if that happens, well, they can try and hope that they'll break the jinx there because Sri Lanka look very strong with the batting that they have, and they've had a good core for a while. And you have Asalanka, Hasaranga, Kamindu Mendes का तो हमने कुछ देखा भी नहीं टेस्ट सीरीज में ज्यादा इतना. So I think there is Ehsan Malinga playing and Dilshan Madhushanka is back. So that will be a good watch to see how they go.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how Sri Lanka kind of just build up to that next World Cup, ODI World Cup that is in South Africa. And so much depends on the spin all-rounders. I say that with Hasaranga and pretty much even Belalage. I think both of them are absolutely key. Coming to Mendes, we know what he's been doing in other formats, so there's no introduction over there. But let's see what entails in the series, and we'll, of course, talk about it in the next MNL. But I think Nick has summed it up perfectly over there. Right. Next one that we want to talk about is Zimbabwe, South Africa, which is not part of the WTC, but some crazy things. Your man Akshay, blessing Muzarabani, RCB lad, getting a run out. But more importantly, crazy fucking 100 scored, man. Sorry for my French, but Pretorius with his 100, Corbin Bosch getting 100. And then in the second innings, you saw Vian Mulder getting 100, not to forget even the captain himself for Zimbabwe. So which 100 did you like the most, and what was your takeaway from Bulawayo?
Takeaway उतना ज़्यादा नहीं है. Clips देखा था. Luandre Pretorius, of course, a lot of people have been talking about him and, how he is someone to watch out for. The guy on debut has gone on to score a fantastic 150. In fact, he's one of just 5 batters to have scored a 150 before turning 20 or 21. If I'm getting those numbers right. So good on him to have been able to do that. With Vian Mulder, importantly, I was really hoping that he does come good for them because it was always going to be a very interesting punt. Him up top, वहाँ पे वो क्या करने की कोशिश कर रहे थे, किसी को नहीं पता था. And more than the score, it's the fact that he lasted 200 plus deliveries that I think would keep them in good stead. Sean Williams, man, wow, the kind of form that he's been in. In fact, again, I saw this numbers. Apologies, I don't remember who put out the stat. If you guys know, do let us do put it in the chat. We'll credit the account. But before 2020, Sean Williams averaged 27 or something. Since 2020, he's played 8 tests. He scored 6 tons in them, averaged in excess of 70 in the last 8 tests that he's played in 6 years. So that's just fantastic. And happy for him at this age, to 38, 39. He's still playing the longest format so beautifully. And this is exactly the kind of exposure experience we were talking about. The more they play these bigger sides, albeit, I mean, of course, once again, people might argue कि भाई second string side है, full strength 11 नहीं है, bowling देखो, Rabada नहीं है, ये नहीं है, all of that, whatever it is, it's still South Africa you're playing. It's still eventually you're going to play New Zealand. It's still England you played earlier on. So the more they keep playing, the better their batters get. And Brian Bennett, I hope all's well with him. That really seemed like a snorter of a delivery from Kwena Mapaka. I hope he comes good eventually as well. If not this series, then over the course of the tests that they play, this year. Baki usse zyada to dekha nahi. Muzrabani, unfortunately, I hardly saw any of him in this test match.
No problem. I think more than Muzrabani, I think Chivanga, the slightly bulkier bloke, got his lines and lengths right, and Zimbabwe caught well in the slip cordon. I would also add a little bit to that stat that you threw about Pretorius. The one thing that Dhanush, our statsman, told us immediately is like, guys, you have to know this. He's the youngest ever test player to score 150. I mean, Javed Miandad had that record all the years ago, but Liane Pretorius take a bow. I think Brevis also had a little thing to add to his memory, I'm guessing, on test debut. I think fastest 50 for the South African on test debut. So props to him. They put up that partnership and then everything's taken course since then. In fact, we're if you're watching this podcast or listening slightly later, we're doing it while the game's going on right now. And as things stand, they need a mountain with regards to Zimbabwe chasing the fourth innings, 537 odd. I don't think that's going to happen. But next, over to you then about this one, and then we'll move on to the MLC, and then we'll take all the questions, and Akshay's quiz also kind of stands through. What is it with South Africa? I mean, obviously, Cody Yusuf, Mapapa, I mean, honestly, they've been doing brilliant. But Keshav Maharaj, is he now the best spinner South Africa have ever produced in Test cricket? Because they've had Nicky Boye, Paul Adams, Pat Simcox, Imran Tahir, but Keshav Maharaj stands tallest.
Truly, and what is very fascinating to see is if you look at the wickets that he's got in this very test, he got Sean Irvine out. He got Sean Williamson. These two guys have batted enough number of overs, yet he was able to coax them out of the crease and get them out stumped. And that, I think, this tells you a lot about the character. Craig Irvine played 90 balls. Sean Williams played 164 balls. Yet he was able to coax those two out and get those wickets. So always loved Keshav Maharaj, and I think one of those few actually underrated left-arm spinners going around. And it's a pity that you don't see them play test matches so often, because if you do, if we get them to play a lot of regular test matches, they'll be far higher in terms of records. So only wishing more and more well, because I think South Africa have a very good WTC in terms of the opponents that they play. So they are going to play Pakistan away, they are going to play Sri Lanka away, they are going to play India away. So Keshav Maharaj is going to come to India to take a potential 2-5. So let's see if it happens or not.
Quick one to both of you all then. If you are playing Test cricket in the subcontinent, who would you least like to face? Santner or Maharaj?
Mind will say Santner, but I will not want to face Maharaj.
I'll still
Diplomatic answer.
I'll still go with Santa just to pick a name. He seemed more wily, but Maharaj has done no discredit to his performances or his name. He's been really good and consistently good in red ball cricket. Like, even I was genuinely surprised after the WTC. I remember just checking some of his numbers, pleasantly surprised with how good he's also been for South Africa.
Greg K. Cheekley saying Maharaj averages 85 in India. Bro, Santner averages so badly before that 3-0 humbling that we got. I don't want to take any particular stats with regards to that. But speaking of stats, freaking awesome throws one on the topic of Zimbabwe, South Africa. This is why Zimbabwe are playing Test in Bulawayo. We all know it's a high-scoring menu. Like, unlike Harare, whenever they play against top teams, at least they can drag the Test to the fourth day in Bulawayo. And it just gives me vibes of that 2005 TVS Cup. I think Venugopal, Ram, Mohammad Kaif, India, New Zealand, Zimbabwe. At that point in time, they played in Bulawayo and Harare, if you guys know, you know. Tanbir saying Sean Williams is a legend, only played 21 tests in his 20-year cricket career. Yeah, we saw that before the England series. I read that somewhere. Right, before we move on to Akshay's quiz, I have to, of course, talk about the MLC, which there's some crazy games. I'll put my hand up and be honest with you all and tell you all that I've just been following this tournament through highlights, through scorecards. It's pretty much the same CPL vibe, but with, of course, Dallas and Texas and cowboy hats and hot dogs in the stand. Shimron Hetmeyer hits a last ball 6 to win a game. Jatinder Singh apparently went from 34 of 16 to 95 34, amongst so many other things which has happened in the MLC. But boys, what made you sit up and take notice of the MLC this week? Nix, I'll start with you and then we'll give Akshay some time to think about it.
Pollard scoring runs against sides owned by Super Kings is a long. I can't stop at the long, because भाई कितने साल मारेगा भाई, छोड़ दे, अभी यूएस में खेल रहा है, उधर भी पीछे. Even today I think he hit a 70 of 39 balls. So of course Faf scored a very good time, 53 balls.
Is the MLC the only league he plays, Nix, Kieran Pollard?
He plays.
No, he played.
खेल रहा है, ILT20 खेला.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's been playing, but अच्छा उधर कोई CSK का या JSK का कुछ ऐसा है नहीं तो वो वहां पे भी नहीं छोड़ता. But that and Amit Chovan, man, I think it is incredibly good for him that he's been able to get consistent runs. Wickets also, he's taking a lot of wickets. So happy to see how Mitch Chovan is developing, and crazy stories. No, one BBL promotion that you get, and then your life is, of course, he's put a lot of hard work, but for that to just change into him getting a new role and him being there, just changing the game right up top, it's very good to see. So let's see how Owen also goes in the coming times.
Yeah, Akshay, when you look at it, actually, I'm looking at the schedule. There's still a good amount of cricket left in this tournament. I think the finals on the 14th of July, I think, which will culminate with a lot of sporting events around the world, with the Wimbledon starting today as well. But coming back to the MLC, San Francisco Unicorns sit top of the pops, 12 points of 7 games. So is Washington Freedom, which is Ricky Ponting coach, of course. And then you have your Texas, Seattle, Emma, and then LA Knight Riders, who every time I look at the MLC table, they're always down the bottom trawlers. So, what's your
Every time you look
takeaway?
at any table, that Knight Riders take button there in the bottom. CP, I mean CPL, nahi, sorry, ये ILT20 हो वहाँ पे हो भाई LA क्या AD क्या, it's just random players keep coming, random players keep going. So I'm not expecting anything more. About what you mentioned, sure, 1 and 2 might be Washington and San Francisco, and uske baad you've got the other teams, but they're just making up the numbers. There's a stark difference between 1 and 2 and the rest. And one also was unbeaten till the last game when Mitch Owen out of nowhere decided to take a fifer. Of all things, pehle ball pe out hua tha. I've been looking forward to two players. Mitch Owen was one of them, the other being Matt Short. Both have done reasonably well for their respective sides. We can't look past Seattle Orcas, yaar. वो तो देखा था. Shimron Hetmeyer finally broke a 10-match losing streak for the Seattle Orcas. What a game he won with him single-handedly. 6 needed of 1 ball. First of all, why was Pollard bowling that last over? God knows. 6 needed of 1 ball, and Shimron Hetmeyer managed to pull it past the fine leg fence for his 6. And yeah, Hemang Badani and his men really, they were almost in tears. Tournament ही जीत गए हो. But good for him and good for them and good for Hetmeyer, importantly, because unfortunately, he did not have the kind of season he would have wanted to. A lot was rightfully, wrongfully, jo bhi bolna hai, said about him, during the season. He was retained ahead of someone like Butler. Was he really worth it? Did he deserve to be retained? These are the kind of performances that was expected off of him. Hopefully, we see a lot more such performances going forward, especially in a tournament like the IPL as well, so that he can vindicate the Royals too. But uske alawa zyada, matlab, haven't seen any match live, of course. Been catching on the clips and catching on the highlights of a few games. Faf du Plessis, bhai, that turn was actually really good. Like, not just another 100 aisa bolne ke liye nahi. He's also he now has the highest T20 tons, right? He holds the record for it now after the latest one. Good on him, bhai. Karo jo karna hai karo, bhai. Faf du.
Yeah, speaking of Faf, I mean, there's quite a few number of ex-RCB players in that top 10 run getters. You have the likes of Finn Allen there, you have Itmai, Maxwell, but everyone's bloody played for RCB, so it doesn't really matter. Next, my final question in the MLC to you is, now every T20 franchise league in the world that we look at, from a neutral perspective, where they're like, oh, are the local players doing well? Are they coming to the party? And the answer is relatively yes, because Monang Patel's doing well. Jatinder Singh, I just mentioned him. Any other points that you can substantiate that case?
Yeah, there were a few more names that Ummuk Chand had a good time. I mean, again, local you have to mention because again in 7 games he's got 243 runs. So that is also good because you need that kind of intent as well. Baki, in terms of bowling, Holland is the one who's had wickets. He's had 10. Shadley is someone who, again, you can count however, but I've always liked watching Shadley. I don't know how to pronounce his next 2 words, so मैं चुप रहेगा.
Shalif
But
Anshal.
he's all.
Shalif
So
Anshal.
those are the names. Harmeet Singh again. See, you always want left arm. मेरे को तो left arm spinners हमेशा पसंद है, but sometimes you can't use them as much as you want them to. Hassan Khan he started the tournament well, but hasn't ended it how they would want them to be. So it is good. I think with time, even with the IPL, it's taken a lot of time for the local players to take over. So I think every league will have that phase where in SA20 also you see a lot of influx of younger players doing tougher roles. So I think with time that will come into the picture even more. So good so far as well. We already have 4 or 5 names that they can build to, and then let's see how they play. Yeah. Oh, we have the ritual out as well. Thank you so much for clicking on mute.
Sorry, I mean, I tried to mute myself because there was apparently some Yamaha RX bike just doing a wheelie outside office. But look, it is what it is. I don't think cricket will become popular in the USA if it's not played by native players. Goes on to say Tanbeer53 in the chat. We appreciate every comment on MNL. So if you think about that, it's fair. MLC is due to expand next year. I hope it encourages the franchises to start academies, etc., to grow the domestic talent. And rough season here. We took that. The fact that, I mean, players like Andres Gauss, Andres Gauss comes to mind. There's Kenjige as well, who all kind of did some things right in that World Cup last year. I'm just keenly looking forward to how they kick on in their cricket careers. Freaking awesome saying Saudi proposes £400 million to institute a cricket league, but we'll save this exact one for the 12th man for sure. 100% I'm going to come back to you on that. But before we wrap up the best of the rest, what's to watch this week? Lots of things I've already spoken about, and I know it's a crowded graphic, but bear with me. There is, of course, the test match going on right now. I don't know whether it'll go into Tuesday. I think it will, but Wednesday, there's a lot of cricket, and then you look at it in the weekend. Absolutely take your pick. Whether you want to wake up late and watch West Indies Australia till 3 in the morning, or of course watch England India from 3 to 11, the pick is yours. But something to really savor, especially even for Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and some ODI cricket as well. Right, on to the favorite part of the show, at least for many, and that is, of course, Chris Vok's quiz. Akshay Kumar Swami's quiz. Now, the winner of this quiz gets a Hello Panda Meiji cookies, if you guys are lucky. I'm just joking. But Akshay, is there a winner in the first place? And how hard have you made it now that you've gone to the UK?
Nah, I'm this week, Varadha, I've kept it as simple and straightforward as possible. Last week, unfortunately, no winners. So first up, you can have the Hello Panda to yourself. Coming to the question we had last week, of course, the below tests were ranked on top of a certain list. What list were we talking about? That was the question. India, England in Delhi, India, England, the Oval 1990, India, Australia, Ranchi 2017, India, New Zealand, Chennai 1965, and last but not the least, India, Pakistan, Delhi 1953. So what were these 5 tests doing on top of a certain list? So yeah, the answer to that is, of course, this is the most runs scored by an Indian tail in the history of test cricket. So since we were talking about the first test and how our tail refused to wag whatsoever, so was just looking at the other end of the spectrum, and turns out, yeah, in these 5 instances, we had our tail wagging and wagging. How, in fact, India versus England, Delhi, the one that's ranked on top, is the only test match in the history of test cricket, of course, Indian test cricket, where India's tail scored in excess of 200 runs. Tail here, like always, being conventionally, tail is number 8 to number 11. It's the last 4 batters. And India Australia 2017 is a bit of a it scammed its way into it, because Vidyaman Saha batted at number 8 because of the batting prowess they had up top. So Saha is technically not a tail-ender, but somehow they managed to do that. So that was the answer to last week. Coming to this week's Howzzaat, there we go. Very simple. Who's the only player in the history of cricket to have achieved what is labeled a cricket Grand Slam? A bit wordy, very simple, very direct. Zyada time na tha. I didn't have time to unfortunately go through stats. This was a question I've had in my mind for a while. So I thought, let's just put it out to our viewers and see who gets it right. Like always, folks, wait for the live stream to end. Do not enter your answers here. Please comment in the main comment section in case you know the right answer. And yeah, lucky winner will get to be a part of our live stream and chat with us. And we'd be the happiest of the lot.
Yeah, super. A pretty straightforward one, that. So you guys have some time to think, and then after the show's done, like Akshay said, absolutely let rip in the comments below. So that was Howzzaat. And finally, because we have, of course, about 5 to 10 minutes to take in your questions in this Monday Night Live episode 86, key in some of them right now, because there are already some fantastic ones, which we'll get to in 5 seconds' time. Apex taking a little dig there in terms of the Howzzaat segment, saying, wow, nice tail quiz, especially when India's tail humiliated us. Hopefully they didn't know that twice, mate. But it is what it is. Right, a lot of questions, like I said. We'll take freaking awesome's questions about the Saudi in a bit, but there are a few others which caught my eye. Now, which was that? Yeah, I think I already found it. What is the point of giving demerit points to coaches? Will they be asked not to be with the team? Now, this comes on the back of Darren Sammy getting fined 15% of his match fee and a demerit point. Now, I don't think he's in hot soup, because it's the first demerit point that he's received after 2 years or something. But it begs the question, Nix and Akshay, does it even matter for coaches? Because we saw Nehra also got a demerit point in the IPL. It's not like a manager, like in football, when they get sent off at the touchline, they can't actually manage the game and they're sent to the stands. What happens to cricket coaches?
The same file is forwarded to somebody else, CC karke, and then the rest is as follows. So again, sometimes cricket gives you a feel of a school teacher only, where nobody can speak anything about the staff, and everybody is always very vigilant. के अच्छे बच्चे बन के रहो, ऐसा बात नहीं कर रहे, don't do this, don't do that. People have done worse and not been fined, and Jaden Seals was fined for showing Pat Cummins the dressing room. So I'm not going to read much into it.
We have another one from Chandan Ramaya. Will these concussions, all the rules that you guys spoke about earlier, be applied to IPL and T20 leagues as well? I think in all likelihood it will, Akshay, or do I get that wrong?
No, they're run by independent committees and boards, right? So the boards take a call on what they want to adopt. So right now, these rules are laid out by MCC, so it's only for T20 eyes. Baki T20 leagues ka, they will take a call on whether they want to use them or not.
Okay, fair. There was another question about Apex saying, is relay catch allowed?
Yeah, relay catches are allowed. So, like Avnish asked, Sky's catch last year in the World Cup final is still legal. Michael Naser's catch from a few seasons ago, no. That's still all of those leagues. That's still legal. Basically, your final, I mean, so simply put, you cannot touch the ball from beyond the boundary line. You have to come into the field of play, and your last point of contact before touching the ball should be within the field of play. That's it. Simple.
Okay, interesting. And Apex also asked us to expand the DS rule. Now, this is what I've read and understood from it. Now, for example, if you take the instance of any batter, for example, who nicks one off and gets caught behind, right? And then he immediately reviews it. Now, Ultra Edge might show that the ball might have actually brushed the pads without any contact of the bat. Now, with the catch ruled out, the TV umpire now checks for the second mode of dismissal. And it just makes you think if the ball tracking led to an umpire's call verdict. So ultimately, the DRS protocol right now is trying to give a secondary review after decision, if that makes sense. I mean, essentially, we put a written article about it, which we'll just get to the nitty-gritties. But this is what I've at least perceived. Do you guys want to lend on that?
Yeah, so basically, like you said, in case, first of all, DRS had two changes. One is what Avnish said. So in that case, let's say a batter has been, there's an appeal for a caught behind. Turns out there's no bat, but it's actually brushed the pads. Now, if the umpire has given it out, okay, if the umpire has given it out on the field and and the batter decides to appeal, earlier on, the umpire's call would have been out. Now going forward, it won't be considered out. So now the default will be not out. So that is basically to just restore some parity, because the umpire wanted to give him out caught behind, not out LBW. So that changes. It's the umpire's call bit that changes, where now the default is in such cases, the default decision. So whenever there's a secondary LBW decision, umpire's call will be not out. Umpire's call won't be out, simply put. And the other change in the DRS rule is the outline of it going up. So earlier, it was from the middle of the off stump to the middle of the leg stump. That was considered hitting. उसके बाद जो भी था वो umpires call वाले region में ज़्यादा आ जाता था. Now they've increased it from the leftmost part of the off stump to a right-hander to the rightmost part of the leg stump, which means they've increased the line of hitting, the area of hitting, which means a lot more of these umpires calls will now come under the gambit of hitting, which means there's a wider area for bowlers to target. So basically, it has made it a lot more bowler friendly, lot more as in about 5% or so and all, 2.5% now, 2.5%. So those are the overall changes.
I like the second one because I think I remember Nasir Hussain speak about this in terms of the area that the batters can get away with. And many people back in the day used to just front pad it and not offer a shot. But at times right now with the technology siding the bowlers a little bit, I think it's something to consider. Next, let's talk about some specific questions we've got with regards to the India-England series. Doff, I think, had this one for us, but it slipped under the radar. He said, surely you play your best bowlers on flat decks and your worst bowlers on better decks. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, relatively, of course, you'd want to play your fastest bowler, your best bowlers on flatter decks, because that's when you trust their skill to come over, and that's how you want to have कि अगर better decker for the bowling, so some of those weaker skilled bowlers can also come into the game because there is help for them, so they can get away by not being as consistent. So again, it's a fair ploy. Many people Many teams do it. So again, to each his own. Just manage them better and use them better. Again, managing, use them
Hmm.
better.
Okay. Alan James asking us, Arshdeep, Akarsdeep, or both. For me, it's the former, Arshdeep all day long. Akarsdeep, Akshay spoke about it in his analysis earlier with regards to he's just gone. What a lad. He's just gone. When I mentioned him, he's gone. I think he'd be back. Maybe there's some connectivity issue in London right now. But basically, I feel Akarsdeep, because he might be swallowed in a whirlwind, like Akshay said, I think India kind of will be defensive and then probably throw in Arshdeep with regards to all of his expertise of playing little county cricket for Kent, but whatever it is, it is. Jerry saying this, it's not a question, but he said Kuldeep is good against basketball type of players in India. After that Pope, normally he should play all now. Agree with Nick, who mentioned that exact point. And sports fan asking us next, guys, how to reduce the gap between the contribution of the lower middle order, which is proving to be very decisive in the series? I mean, apparently the tail enders spent more time with the bat than with the ball this weekend. I don't know if you read that report, Nick, but it's basically just to last longer or to bat faster. What can the Indian tail do?
Just be a bit more, I would say, game aware. Uh, it's not that they can't bat. I think they tried both things. They said, okay, like, let's wait. But then they had rush of blood. Both Bumrah had a rush of blood. Prasidh Krishna had a rush of blood. I think here, unfortunately, both the times the other one was Jadeja. And the less said about him batting with the tail, the better. So I think it just has to be very clear communication done how you saw with Rishabh Pant. That there felt a very clear message out there to Rishabh K, bad time. Forget runs, bad time. I think that's all they need to be told. K, be very sure if it's there in your arc and you want to hit, only hit if it is required for the team. If not, try and hang in there because the disappointing bit was it wasn't that they did not have anybody else at the other end. The disappointing bit was they had somebody at the other end, but they did not trust their own game or the game at the other end to find them those few extra runs. So it's also where I would say your number six plays a massive role. Now, you'll have to, again, it is a silly thing to say that you need to know when to get out. Sometimes are the worst possible times to get out. And in both innings, Karun eventually, unfortunately, found out the worst times to get out. And it led to a collapse of sorts. So, a bigger role for your number three, number six in terms of playing on the second new ball. If you look at it, both games, it was a second new ball where India had a very random collapse. So, you don't want the tail to be also facing a harder new ball. So, of course, a lot of it is uncontrollable, but you can try and drag it as much as you can and just be a bit more communicative with your lower order. Okay, this is our plan. Hold, stay there, find a way. इतने तो वो बुरे नहीं है कि they can't survive, and the conditions also are not such that you'll be blown away. So I just feel they need to trust themselves more and find a way to stay there. Single wingle सब बाद में निकालेंगे अपन, but be there.
Yeah, I mean, to my understanding, with regards to all the English podcasts I keep watching, apparently the current crop of English pacers, i.e., Josh Tongue and Mark Woods, are playing this test, but all of them have spoken about something called rabbit pie, which is basically just to finish off the tail really, really quickly. And that bunch of rabbits, apparently, the tail enders. And Josh Tongue did that beautifully. I think he got three of the tail enders out in one over itself. So it just makes you think whether India's tail will shine. There was a funny comment from Apex. Do you know Shubham Gill calls heads and tosses because he doesn't trust the tail? He goes on to say. Plenty more other questions coming through right now. We appreciate it, even though in the dying embers of the MNL. Quickly smash a like because so many of you are watching and will watch later on this week.
Manish, I'll have to just head out now.
Done. No worries. You enjoy yourself, and we'll try to see you whenever. But have a fantastic rest of the week, Akshay.
Chalo. See ya, boys.
Super. Well, that's Akshay's off, and we'll just try to take him off as well. Move this man. Get out of there. Anyway, Greg K saying Karna is probably better off batting after Jadeja. Jadu can off with a new ball, and Pratik saying, so basically Empire Store is just continuing away with full. Yeah, absolutely. If you want to perceive it like that, because I think if everything is hitting, even if it's clipping, then obviously it's advantage bowlers. Nikhil saying, I got the Howzzaat right last time, I think. Did you? Well, Akshay didn't confirm. And Akshay is in London, not somewhere in the UK. I'm not sure where he is, but he will definitely be walking there. Last couple of questions before we exit MNL. Freaking Awesome has one for me, and I think we'll give one to me and Nick after this. During the IPL, Abhi said that Vikrant can be considered for the T20 World Cup in place of Bishra because of batting depth. Would you prefer Krunal Pandya as he's played already for India? I said that in the scheme of wrist spin all-rounders. And I feel even though Kuldeep is your incumbent number one spinner right now in terms of wrist spin, he doesn't add that little batting pedigree that you might need. So Vikraj is a definite name which dropped out of the IPL. So Krunal Pandya, even though he did wonders and made RCB win their first ever title, I won't go like for like. And I don't know how much Nick agrees with me on that.
No, I think it's very fairly put, and both are very different roles. You already have somebody like an Akshar Patel doing what Krunal Pandya is doing. So then maybe if you want to, but then you would not want to go back to Krunal Pandya. You would rather say trust somebody like a Sai Kishore who's also batting at 3 in the TNPL. Now again, you'll have to give people game time. Maybe GT can consider Sai Kishore batting higher up the order as well and see if that works out for them. So different roles, and Viparaj again, as Avnish said, you can count on your fingers how many leg spinning all rounders can bat. I can't recall any Indian having an Indian bowler who could bat as well as Viparaj has in terms of T20 batting. So it is a good thing that is coming, rare species. So you'll have to use them very specifically.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, if you look at the T20 circuit, not many leg spinners can bat in India. The next name I was actually thinking about was Shreyas Gopal, who actually can't really bat like Tom Kit, but probably hold a bat because I've seen him bat quite a bit for Karnataka, and hence I thought about his name.
Yeah.
But like you said, valid point there. Two more questions from Freaking Awesome. We will end it, and some good questions, and hence we've taken his. Saudi proposes £400 million to institute a cricket league, but BCCI and ECB are opposing the idea. Will it be a threat to the IPL, especially if it happens in April and May? Will foreign players go there? The way I see it, if ECB and the BCCI are coming together, join forces to eradicate the force of Saudi, that's great. I think Cricket Australia will jump onto that bandwagon. But if they don't, then I foresee what's going to happen with what they did to boxing, golf, tennis in that region, which is just sports watching. I don't know, some players will fall for it. Some players might not be allowed to play the other leagues. I don't know how it'll work out. But in short, I don't think it'll ever come in between the IPL, which is in those months. So that's how I would just give it. I'll give the second question of freaking awesome to Nick because I think he's in a better position to answer this. Would you rest Jaiswal in the home test series against West Indies, he asked Nick, because he hasn't played any T20 internationals for almost a year. When will he play some T20s before the T20 World Cup? So the two parts of the question. How do you see Yashasvi?
Yeah, I would not want to think about home test series against West Indies right now. There is plenty for Jaiswal to do. And I would not think on the lines of resting him also. I don't mind if he doesn't play the T20 format. To me, he's a far important test batter that I want to preserve. You already have Abhishek playing the T20 format, opening with Sanju. If things do not work out right there, then you figure out there are plenty of options for opening the batting for India. There is Jaiswal, there is Gill as well, who might, we don't know when he'll play, when he'll not play. So I would not want to compromise on a home test return for Jaiswal for him playing T20s. I think India's T20 pool is good enough to survive on itself. Yes, if there is a niggle or something like that, then maybe you can figure their time to get Jaiswal some rest. But do you actually need the rest? I don't know. Unless you are saying we want to try somebody else also as a backup opener, maybe then you want to go down that route. But I think it's way too early and this is way too long. Let's wrap England first and then see where we are.
Yeah, all I would say to that is how often do you see a subcontinental opener being rested at home because they will be the first to bite your hand off and be like, bro, I want to play this test because A, no offense, it's towards the lesser West Indies. So he'd like to just pile on some more runs. And plus, Jaiswal can stand there and just blaze glory. I know he got a couple of pulls and all of that stuff, but I definitely think that Jaiswal will play all the tests. And if he has to be bled into the T20 side, so be it. Last couple of comments and we'll exit. Bumrah's shot, Prasad's shot in the last game were awful, to be honest. But I think we should first play an attack which can take 20 wickets, then expecting batting from them than the other way around. I agree with you. I've always believed that it should be a 6-5 combination. Get 4 bloody good bowlers to take wickets, or another 5, and you have a keeper and 5 proper batters to do the job as well. Sports fan saying, Avnish should later ask this, but when will Women Cricket Podcast go live next? I think Akshay will probably do one sometime this week. They will kind of review the India-England series and talk about all the things that you guys have been liking there. The best part about Smriti Mandhana's 100 was the bowler to me. I mean, Lauren, joking. On that funny note, let's end the proceedings at MNL. But thank you so much, Nikhil. Thanks, Akshay, for being part of the podcast. Even though you effed off, my dinner's arrived, which is weird because this new office has got a bell, which is absolutely unseen as well. That's all we have in this MNL. Stay locked and loaded on cricket.com. Next final words with you.
Now, just let's hope we have a good week. Very eventful one. No super over Vaisa, no tight test. Need a good win.
Okay, fine. I'm going for basically the West Indies to upset Australia, England to get hammered at home, and Zimbabwe maybe just to make it a 1-1 series. And who knows, Bangladesh also to break that Colombo jinx. Lots more to discuss in the next MNL. More clips to come out. So stay focused, stay locked, and give us some love like this, and we will have dinner on the beach. Okay. Just saying goodbye.